Are you always worrying that something's going to go wrong? Hi, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Syra, the show where I answer your questions about personal growth, mental health, and relationships. Today's question comes from Sophie. Sophie says, "Why am I always worried about something going wrong? And what should I do about it?" Why am I always worried about something going wrong? And what should I do about it? It's a great question, and it's a very common question, especially people who come to me. There's that question about I'm so worried about everything, and how do I stop being so worried about everything going wrong? So I have three different ideas here. One is kind of just defining the issue. So we'll define the issue. The second is kind of a strategy that could help, and then the third is a technique. So defining strategy technique. And I would encourage you, Sophie, to, see the severity of this. There may be benefit in talking to a professional and actually having a one-on-one about the anxiety and the worrying, and there may be something bigger going on there. So yourself the severity. So if you do need kind of professional help, this is not professional, like this is not counseling, this is not therapy, it's not medical advice. So you won't necessarily get the same depth that you would working one-on-one, but I'll share my ideas with you anyway. So first of all, I wanted to let you know that there's a technical name for what you're describing. It's called anticipatory anxiety. Anticipatory anxiety. What does that mean? We're anticipating something. We're looking ahead to something and worrying, really. Often when we're engaged in anticipatory anxiety, we are looking at worst case scenarios, right? Worst case scenarios. And we're often, one of the reasons that we do this is to kind of feel like some sense of control. Like if I think about it now, then I know what to do if it happens. And so there's this kind of false sense of control, because what happens is when we do this anticipatory anxiety thinking, we're actually creating more stress for ourselves. So we think it'll make us feel better to have kind of all the solutions laid out in a worst case scenario, but it doesn't, because the worst case scenarios are infinite, right? Like so many bad things, so many things could go wrong, but so many things could also go right. Yeah. And so that's one of the ideas. So the first one was, I wanted to tell you about what it's called. And then, so what do you do about it? Okay. So this is what it is. This is what it's called. What do you do about it? So the first thing is you could challenge your thoughts and say, well, instead of thinking about worst case scenarios, what if I were to consider some best case scenarios? What if everything went right? Right? And so what that does is it challenges the loop that you get caught in when you're in that overthinking space, right? When you're in that anticipatory, overthinking is more about the past generally. So the anticipatory anxiety is a little bit different. So when your mind is like going and going and going about this could go wrong, that could go wrong, this could go wrong, that could go wrong. But what could go right? Could something go right? Could many things go right? So that we call that challenging your thinking, right? So you're not just assuming that because you think it, it's true. Could be false what you're thinking. Feels true, but you could be wrong, right? So you can either do this through kind of thinking it through, challenging the thoughts in your mind, but I find people find that it's more effective to actually do it in an external way. So that could be writing about it. So writing in your journal about, best case scenarios, or what if I was wrong about this and everything's going to be fine. So kind of writing about it. You could talk it out. So you could either like make a voice note about it for yourself and just get it out verbally that way. Or if you have someone in your world who is a good listener and isn't going to make you feel bad or small about this, then you could talk to them about, I'm going through all this worst case scenario stuff, and I just need to, this and this. And sometimes talking it out can make you feel better. And sometimes talking it out can actually just reinforce the worry. So you know yourself best, and you'll know which of those is helpful for you, whether talking it out with a friend is helpful or actually talking about alternatives is more helpful, right? Best case scenarios might be more helpful. And then finally, so that's the strategy is challenging the thoughts, talking it out. And then there's the technique. So there's relaxation techniques that you can start practicing that will help you with that, with the baseline anxiety that you're feeling. So instead of your baseline anxiety being here, when you engage in regular relaxation practices, your baseline anxiety goes lower because you're starting to rewire your brain away from the anxious thoughts, the anxious thinking. So, a simple relaxation technique is just breathing, deep belly breaths. And there's different, there's different counts you can do. So you can, count in for 5, hold for 5, and count out for 5, for example. So that just lengthens and deepens your breath. There's other relaxation techniques. So one is called the body scan, where you actually kind of go through and just check in with different parts of your body and imagine there's kind of a wave of relaxation that's sweeping down you as you go. That's another idea. And um, any sort of meditation can be helpful in with relaxation, and listening to relaxing music can also be helpful. So just finding ways to increase relaxation will help with those thoughts, because it's a redirect, right? The brain can't do two things at the same time. So if your brain is trying to relax, it can't also be thinking of worst case scenarios. So those are my thoughts about that. And again, this isn't medical advice or therapy. You might have to work one-on-one with someone to get something more catered to what you need. But here's some tips and ideas that might be helpful, hopefully for you, Sophie, and others who are watching. If you found this helpful, give us a like or thumbs up, or it is a thumbs up. I think that's the same thing. Whatever, push that button. And if you're enjoying these videos, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it with somebody who might have anxiety and might find this helpful. Talk to you next time. Bye.